Since the news of Bill Cosby's release from prison last Wednesday, many have given their thoughts on the matter. Shortly after Cosby's release, D.L. Hughley explained on his radio show that this trial was never about Cosby's guilt or innocence, but instead it was something about society doing something about the wealthy men that were getting away with the abuse of power. So they decided to go after easy pickings, the black guy. DL argued that they continue to go after low-hanging fruit, pretend to be concerned about the victims, but let truly powerful people get away with everything else. Hughley then listed several people that the courts need to go after, people that they've had justice delayed, including Tamir's Rice murderer.
This was never about protecting the victims. This was about succumbing to pressure. This was about the optics of pretending like you were doing something that you were not. This wasn't about, the trial was never about Bill Cosby's guilt or innocence, whether you believe he did it or not. The deal was in place. And they decided, because of public pressure, to go after somebody. And there was pressure all around because everybody was talking about how wealthy men were getting away with all these things and powerful men, which is true. And what they decided was to go after somebody that would be easy pickings. They went after the black dude. Now, his guilt or innocence was never what was at hand. It was pretending like society was doing something about it. And my problem then as now is that they go after low-hanging fruit. This was never about meting out justice. This was never about doing the right thing. This was never about the victims. This is about succumbing to pressure and going after low-hanging fruit. It was about the pretending. It was about confusing activity with accomplishment. And do you know how rare it is for the Supreme Court in any state to agree with a black man, to overturn them over the findings of a prosecutor? You know how hard that is? That clearly there was a deal in place. They blew it up and decided to go after him because he was easy pickings, but not after a president, not after a Supreme Court justice, not after any number of powerful people. But if you're going to go back in time and your concern is allegedly the victims, go after real victims. If you've proven that you can go back in time to make things right, then keep it going.
Today we've got Vanessa Fraction, Capone, and Pierre on the show to talk about D.L. Hughley's comments regarding the case of Bill Cosby. And we have to answer the question, should Cosby have ever been arrested? But before we dive in, and Pierre, I want to start with you. What was your reactions after seeing D.L. Hughley's comments?
I mean, he had a point to a certain degree to me, to say, should Cosby ever been going after and low-hanging fruit? I don't know about all that because, you got Harvey Weinstein, he's in jail. You got Mario Batali, who's the restaurant guy who had his TV show, big fat white guy with the reddish hair. He done lost his company, restaurants he had to step down from. So they are coming after people. The Me Too movement made a lot of people lose their job. A lot of people in show business, like executives and producers, they lost their job. They're not producing at networks no more. So they went after a lot of people. And that young lady with the afro that we talked about so much, all the black light skin with the afro, I heard she came up years ago to say something about it. They kind of swept it under the rug. It came back up again, and that's what happened with Cosby. He got mostly blamed for that situation. The history of the stuff he's done before, and they say it was a different time. Yeah, it was a different time, but I still think if you put drinks in people's, drugs in people's drinks, no matter what year it was, the 60s, 70s, I don't give a damn. That still was a foul thing to do to get some sex, to me. So if he did it, admit to it, and it is what it is.
Right. Vanessa, I want to come to you. What was your reaction to D.L. Hughley's comments?
He said a lot. That it was loaded in terms of Cosby and legal situations. Should you have ever, that was to me, yes, if he had a deal in place, he shouldn't have been arrested. The reasons why he was, and why they were so aggressive with him, I believe him. Like there was a lot of pressure and lots of people fell under that with the Me Too, and rightly so, and so forth. As far as the low-hanging fruit, I don't know. But the other stuff he said, though, I got emotional. The other stuff about if you want to go back in time and really right some wrongs, I could barely listen to the testimonies of people from Black Wall Street. I can barely listen to the stuff that happened about Rosewood. You can barely listen to a lot of it because it's really hurt. If you really want to do some real justice, you have an opportunity to. It's like what went wrong, how you can do it, and the fact that you just won't and you're gonna make such a big deal, and it's almost like you want to say no sin is greater than the other, but come on, people really lost their lives, they lost their homes, they lost their hope, you know what I'm saying? And if you really want to do something, I agree with him, you should be doing more about things like that. I can't cry many tears, unfortunately, ladies, I'm so sorry for whatever happened, child, But there are some really horrendous things that happen in this world, you know what I'm saying, where I didn't put myself in certain, you know what I'm saying, like there's a lot of funkiness in that situation with Cosby, and as a woman in entertainment, there's a lot of funkiness in that, but there are some specific horrors that have been done that can be righted, so I digress.
Absolutely. Now, Capone, I want to get your thoughts on that. What were your initial reactions to D.L. Hughley's comments?
Of course, I agree with DL about if you're going to go back in time, make it fair. But of course, that's just me blowing hot air, because we know for a fact that nothing in America for Black people has been fair. You could say it happened yesterday where the Asian people got protected, and we've been going through what we're going through for all of this time, and we still haven't got granted that type of protection. So it's great that he's saying it, but to me, it's almost a waste of time. Unless we come together and start to fight together, ain't nothing gonna happen.
And I think y'all bring up a great point when he talks about going back in time. Pierre, I know on your podcast, Faison Love actually talked about that as well. He mentioned Emmett Till. If you look at the case of Emmett Till, who basically was lynched for being accused of whistling at a white woman, that was around, during this same time. So I want to talk about that a little bit more, because I know you said, Vanessa, I want to start with you that, when you look back on time, it's like, what if we're going back, let's go back for things that can really make a difference. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on, because like I said, on Faison Love talked about the Emmett Till case. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that when you're seeing somebody during the same period, Bill Cosby was, went to jail and things like that, but then you have the case of Emmett Till that's still kind of one of those things that hasn't been taken care of.
I didn't see, I'm sorry, Pierre, I didn't tune into the panic room.
What?
Well, I know, dog. That's why I had to apologize. I didn't want to come straight out and be like, I didn't watch the shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I had to apologize. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I am familiar with the situation, and I think that's where the law comes in. And that's why people have been, I just saw Judge Joe Brown, I'm so sorry, give Mark Lamont Hill his ass. You know what I'm saying? When it came to the law and stuff like that, and being very careful with mob action, and just because there's a lot of accusations, then making a very swift judgment and move of action toward punishing someone. That is what we're speaking of about the Emmett Till situation. There is a burden of proof on those ladies to, you know what I mean, to say that what happened. He doesn't have to prove that it didn't happen. They have to prove that it did, and that wasn't met, or what have you, or the deal was made, or whatever. But we have to be very careful about mob action for sure. Accusations are just that.
So I want to come to you, Pierre. Do you think he should have even been arrested? Should Bill Cosby have ever, even been arrested from the first place?
No, well, if the prosecutor, if they make a deal's a deal. Now, if they hadn't made a deal, then that's a whole different thing. But if you make a deal and you tell somebody, hey, you can speak and say what you want to say, you won't get arrested, and then you say what you want to say, you say it, and then they want to arrest you, that's foul. That's just foul. I mean, a deal's a deal, and I'm glad he got out of that. But are we talking about what the case was? I mean, if he, why would they make a deal like that? I mean, maybe they didn't have enough evidence to prove, you know what I'm saying? That's why they said, all right, well, let's forget a deal. And then when they did the deal and he spoke, then they felt like, hey, let's push forward and put him, arrest him, because we all know he really did it. Or I think he admitted to some of that stuff, drugging some women, saying that's what it was back in the days and stuff. Well, like I said, too bad. Once you make a deal, you make a deal. You got to stay with it. So he shouldn't have been arrested to me.
Capone, I want to come to you. Same question. Do you think Bill Cosby should have been arrested in the first place?
Hell no. Like Judge Joe Brown said, what about taking accountabilities of these groupies? Being an entertainer, I've seen women do a whole lot of different things, trying to just get on camera, trying to get whatever the situation is. And, sometimes you don't have to drug them, and sometimes women bring their own drugs now. These women that's popping pills and doing all kinds of stuff before they try to get into these clubs or rooms and all of that. And I know it's a different time, but come on, man. You bringing up shit that was so far in the past, and here you got people doing the same thing and nobody else gets arrested. If you're going to arrest everybody, then I can see it making sense. But if you blatantly just arrest a black man and none of the other guys who have way more cases than him, then we know what it is.
But I think what you're saying, Capone, you're saying if women bring their own drugs, get high, I get that. But if you sneaking stuff in somebody's stuff unbeknownst to them, because one thing is you give somebody some drugs, you don't know their physical makeup. They may have heart problems, kidney problems. You want to mess around and kill somebody sneaking a drug into it. Now, if you take a drug with me, we all take drugs to have sex. It's what it is. But I think the problem is they were saying that they were drugged unbeknownst to them. And that's crazy. You start putting drugs and stuff in people's drinks or whatever, and they can't help it.
What were they doing there in the first place? And why did the thing is, all right.
Come on, we're going to let Vanessa chime in really quick on that because I think she wanted to respond to you before you respond to Pierre.
I'm responding to both. Capone was basically just saying the main issue is, yes, I don't care about what they was doing there. I don't care about none of that shit. You don't put something unknowingly into anybody's anything. I don't give people peanuts without letting them know because you might have an allergy. So I'd be damned if I put something that is going to chemically impair you and you don't know about it. And again, there's too many women and do you have something I can take? You know what I'm saying? Like there's too many women that do that for you to it's never, ever, ever okay to say this gonna help them out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's never, ever okay. So I don't think, and that's the whole thing is now we're speculating what did happen and that's not really what we should be doing. This went to court and he was not convicted of it, and I'm so sorry, you know what I'm saying, for the women that feel as if something more did happen all those years ago, you know what I'm saying, but I don't play the you wasn't supposed to be there thing, even though I do understand stupid situations with stupid people doing stupid shit ends up.
Now, Capone, I want to come to you. Did you have a response to Pierre and or Vanessa?
Again, I agree with Vanessa saying that if you don't know.
I said that. Damn.
It sounded better when I said it, Pierre.
If you don't know. But my thing is, if you got drugged, supposedly you got drugged, why you keep coming back? These women been coming back 3 and 4 times. Why do you keep coming back? And then later on, I guess your career didn't make it, or you didn't make it where it was supposed to be, and now you want to charge him. These women came back several times. So the drug must not have been that powerful.
That pudding pop was.
I think I'm with a lot of people, or maybe I'm not, but I don't want to rehash it anymore. It went to court. It didn't, it was not.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm saying. Why are we making such a big thing of it?
There. I'm done talking about it.
Right. And I think too, it's a complicated situation, especially I think you mentioned before we started taping, if it's conversation that you have at home, cool. But like you said, it's been to court, it's been handled. It's a tough conversation to have, but facts are the facts.
Well, let me ask you, here's an example. And again, I'm not a woman and I've been raped. I get all that. But this just shows you, if you let too much time go between the incident and, you saying something, you can lose out on all of it. There's no proof or burden of proof. So if you let years go by, it's gonna, the chances of you being proven correctly can be hard. And I feel for women who feel there's too much pain and they don't want to do it. They want to hold it. They don't know how to handle it. And 5 years later, 10 years later, well, the longer you let it go, if you don't report that within 24 hours to 48 hours or when it happens, your chances are slim. People are gonna get away with that stuff. So I hope women can muster up the strength to go in there and say something after it happens and they acknowledge it. As soon as they know it happened. To it, because you have the semen maybe in you have the location, you have been there, there's paperwork, there's proof that you was in a room, house, whatever. So I just hope women don't, can muster up the strength to find a way to say something quicker than letting years go by, because if not, this is going to keep on happening. Time's going, the drugs will be out your system.
As a woman, I
appreciate that.
Right.
I was going to say, Pierre, they going to love you in the comments for that one.
That is good.
That's what I said, because you know what? I said, I hope they muster up the strength. I ain't say you got to do it. I said, I hope you muster up the strength. Now, damn it, damn.
What is the purpose of keep coming back if somebody's drugging you and
it's solved. It's been in court. All things are closed out in this case. Now, you heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. What are your thoughts regarding D.L. Hughley's comments regarding the Bill Cosby case? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments.
Tech Black culture.